These are 3 of the strangest signings in Premier League history, and we'll be going over them, starting with the man who had a broken back when Arsenal signed him on loan in 2014. At the time, Arsenal locked in a heated title race, aiming to secure their first league title since they were invincible a decade ago. Although they held the top spot in the league throughout January, they faced fierce competition from the likes of Man City and Liverpool, so signing a player or two made sense. A midfielder in particular was a priority, as Arsenal had lost their best player that season, Aaron Ramsey, to a long-term injury, and also had an injury-prone Jack Wilshere in the starting 11. However, as the transfer window unfolded, there was radio silence at the Emirates, and by the time deadline day hit, 0 signing to be made. With Arsenal deciding they needed at least 1 extra player, they turned to Källström, who they felt was the most suitable option on the market. Källström was a 31-year-old veteran midfielder playing in Russia for Spartak Moscow, with his key appeal being that he was available on a free loan deal until the season's end. When contacted by the club, Källström informed Arsenal straight away they had a problem with his back and they had no idea where it was. But this didn't sway Arsenal, and they told him to come along anyway. So Källström came to London and had the medical, where he found out there were some problems, causing Källström to think the transfer was off because he was injured. But to his surprise, this didn't deter Arsenal, and later that day he was unveiled as an Arsenal player. The way Arsene Wenger saw it, it was either sign Källström with an injured back or sign nobody at all due to the time constraints. Even before the fans learned of Källström's injury, his announcement was met with criticism online. Why would we want to see pictures of a nobody? He is not good enough for Arsenal. Wow, disappointed for real. I can't believe this. This season was a season. Great, a 31-year-old. Just what we didn't need. Källström's arrival was already questionable, so you can only imagine the response when it broke out that Källström had recently injured his back while playing football on a beach and would be out for multiple weeks. This left Arsenal fans baffled. They had a golden opportunity to strengthen their title chances, but went ahead and signed an injured player. And then in the coming months, Arsenal's title hopes crumbled. They suffered a heavy 5-1 defeat to Liverpool and then lost 6-0 to Chelsea, leaving them down in 4th place at the end of the season. Although the Premier League campaign ended in misery, Källström emerged as an unlikely hero despite making just 4 appearances for the club. In the FA Cup semi-final against Wigan Athletic, Källström stepped up in a penalty shootout and scored the 2nd penalty in a 4-2 win that sent Arsenal to the final. Arsenal then defeated Hull City in the final to end a 9-year trophy drought, seeing Källström leave the club with silverware. The absurdity of the transfer paired up with his crucial penalty ended up making Källström somewhat of a cult hero. But regardless, he's still one of the strangest signings in Premier League history. However, his signing is nowhere near as strange as the time Southampton were tricked into signing the Sunday League quality player Ali Dia, who conned his way into playing for the club. The story behind the signing unfolded in 1996 when then Southampton manager Graham Souness received a phone call from someone claiming to be none other than George Weah. At the time, Weah was a superstar playing for AC Milan in Italy, and had recently won both the Ballon d'Or and FIFA World Player of the Year. So when this impersonator called Souness to recommend Ali Dia, who was his cousin, had played for Paris Saint-Germain and had played 30 times for his country, Souness was convinced and signed the player on a 1-month trial with the club. However, it quickly became painfully obvious in training that Ali Dia was nowhere near Premier League standards. In fact, he was so poor, Southampton legend Matt Le Tissier later confessed they actually thought he'd won a competition to come and train with them. However, with Souness' Southampton squad being ravaged by injuries, he had no choice but to have Ali Dia on the bench for their game against Leeds United. Then, 32 minutes into the match, disaster struck when striker Matt Le Tissier came off the field injured. With no other forwards available, Ali Dia was thrust into the spotlight for his Premier League debut. What followed was 53 minutes of footballing infamy as Southampton went on to lose 2-0. Ali Dia's performance was arguably the worst in Premier League history, although he did manage to get a shot on target before being substituted off for a centre-back. After the match, Graham Souness faced scrutiny from the media for fielding a player as lacking in ability as Dia. In his defence, Souness admitted I sent him on having never seen him play Premiership football. He then also stated, it just goes to show the state of things at the club at the moment that a player I've never even seen, let alone watched in a game, was able to play in the Premiership. Dia's performance was one of a kind, and the man he was subbed on for, Matt Le Tissier, had this to say about it when recounting the story.
And it was unbelievable. He ran around the pitch like Bambi on ice. It was very, very embarrassing to watch.
After that woeful performance, Ali Dia was swiftly released by Southampton and ended up at the non-league club Gateshead. It was there that the truth about his time at Southampton came to light, and soon after, Ali Dia called it quits on his footballing career. Another very strange signing was Bebé's £7.4 million move to Man United in 2010, when the player had been homeless just 2 months prior and Sir Alex Ferguson had never even seen him play. The signing was United's most expensive of the window, yet next to nobody had heard of him, even in his home country of Portugal, and there was almost no trades him online because he hadn't played a single professional match. The football world was left in anticipation, wondering if United had just unearthed a hidden gem or if the signing was pure madness. At first, Bebé showed promise, having a decent cameo in his debut match against Scunthorpe. After one more substitute appearance, this time against Sunderland in the Premier League, Bebé was handed his first start for the club. He ended up scoring a crucial goal in a 3-2 win against Wolves, helping United advance to the next round of the EFL Cup. 1 week later, he was substituted on for his Champions League debut and found the back of the net for a second consecutive game. However, this is as good as it got for Bebé at Man United. In a Premier League match against Wolves, he was subbed on after 10 minutes and proceeded to put in a performance that tarnished his reputation forever. The performance was so poor that he only lasted 64 minutes before being subbed off himself. It wasn't until 5 months later when Bebé finally got another chance in United's first team, this time starting against non-league Crawley Town in the FA Cup. Unfortunately, his display was disappointing, with him described as looking out of his depth against the non-leaguers, in what will prove to be his final competitive appearance for Man United. Bebé was yet another Premier League flop, but what's really strange about the signing is the dodgy circumstances around the deal. If you go back a few years, Bebé was a homeless teenager living in an orphanage after his parents abandoned him when he was young. It was here where Bebé started playing for a local amateur team, Loris. Clearly showcasing footballing talent, Bebé was convinced by CazR, a Portuguese homeless charity, to represent Portugal in the 2009 European Street Football Festival in Bosnia. It was at this tournament that Bebé's life would change forever, as despite admitting he only attended as a joke, he scored 40 goals in just 6 games. This caused Estrela Amadora, a Portuguese 3rd division side, to sign Bebé to their team. It was at Estrela that Bebé met his agent Gonzalo Reis, who claimed to be like a father figure to him, buying him boots and clothes, housing him on occasion, and sometimes driving him to training or games. The belief Gonzalo had in Bebé paid off, as with his support, Bebé was able to quickly establish himself as Estrela's star player. However, Estrela was a club buried in debt and they couldn't pay Bebé, for he only paid on the payroll at the time his weekly wage of €300, seeing Bebé walk out with 5 games remaining. Estrela's failure to pay his wage voided the €1.2 million release clause in his contracts, enabling Vitória Guimarães to sign the player on a free deal, with them facing no competition for his signing. Bebé impressed in pre-season with Vitória, scoring 5 goals in 6 friendly matches. However, after the 6th match, Gonzalo Reis would be unexpectedly sacked as Bebé's agent, and almost immediately after, the super agent Jorge Mendes began to represent Bebé. An investigation into this was held by the Lisbon-based anti-corruption unit in 2012, and around that time, Gonzalo Reis complained to FIFA that Mendes improperly poached Bebé from him. But nothing ever came from this. Within days of Mendes becoming Bebé's agent, a £7.4 million move to Manchester United was completed, and this was strange for many reasons. Firstly, Bebé was the only player that Sir Alex Ferguson admitted to signing blind, having not even seen the player on video. He claims that it was a recommendation of his former assistant Carlos Queiroz that influenced him to sign Bebé. However, this is a claim which Queiroz refused, saying he knew nothing about Bebé when he signed for Man United. Also, United were instructed they should move quickly because Real Madrid and Benfica were about to step in, essentially forcing Sir Alex to sign the player before being able to actually gauge his talent. All of this ties back to Jorge Mendes, who pocketed a hefty 40% of the €9 million United paid Vitória. This is because he was the agent of Carlos Queiroz and was also the agent of Real Madrid's new manager, Jose Mourinho, who has never denied Madrid's interest in Bebé, despite Sir Alex claiming they beat Madrid to this signing. Some speculate this was a signing United made to get on Mendes' good side, whilst others believe it was a hasty decision made to stop Madrid getting a supposed star in and make it. Regardless of the motives, everyone can agree Bebé's Manchester United journey was doomed from the start. He went from homelessness one moment to a millionaire the next, playing for one of the biggest clubs in the world despite only receiving formal football training 2 months before the move. Manchester United might have expected instant results for the price they paid, but this was not a realistic expectation for a player who had never played a professional match of football.